Hi everyone, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with another vid, and I know you've already read the title. What I'm actually going to talk about a bit is a number of things, but what really spurred me to make this video is a piece of content that is so ridiculously out of touch with reality and decency, and it's being promoted, various places online like it's somehow relevant to many people, right? It's to me absolutely kind of a disgusting thing. What this is, the name of the article is "The Negatives of Early Retirement Life Nobody Likes Talking About" by some guy who calls himself the Financial Samurai. Now, I'm not going to link in the description below this. If you want to find that article, just Google it. You'll be able to find it easy enough on yourself. I don't really want to drive any more traffic to this article. That's how much this article upset me. So, obviously, you know what the premise is. So, we're going to talk about the downsides of retiring early, right? Now, this guy, but to give a little bit of background, this guy is wealthy. He managed to save up a few $1 million and retire at like 34. So he did something that almost, it does happen, but it's something almost no one can manage to do, right? Now, some pretext. I do not begrudge this guy his success. In a way, I'm indirectly happy for him because he achieved something that many people strive for. And I don't begrudge, the man worked hard. I don't begrudge him his success, right? That's not really what the problem is. The problem is this article. So let me go ahead and kind of dive into this. Number one, his number one. I'm not going to read this thing word for word. I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights. Basically, his biggest number one. You will suffer the downsides of retiring early. Number one, you will suffer an identity crisis for an unknown period of time. Basically, he says, when you've spent at least a decade working in a profession, you'll find it incredibly jolting to no longer be identified as the person who is a marketing expert, an investment professional, or whoever, right? So, okay. As I say in many of my videos, I am, quote, an IT professional, right? Let's pretend for a minute this was me. I had made a few $1 million and retired in my mid-30s, right? I would not give one lousy shit if I were still an IT professional or not. The only reason I am in that line of work is it's the skill I'm most suited for. It's the only skill I have that has any real value in the employment marketplace, which is fine, right? So that's why I'm doing it. It just happens to line up with what I know, and it happens to be somewhat valuable. So there you go. That's it. It's not really tied to my identity at all. Like, I don't, like, when I think about myself as a person, IT guy does not define me as a person, right? It has very little to do with my identity. I work to live. I do not live to work, right? So that's number one. So what's his next downside? You'll be stuck in your head. When you suddenly have an extra 10 to 14 hours a day of free time, it's very difficult to optimize your time wisely, just like how bedrooms naturally get messy, your mind naturally gets lazy the more time you have to do anything. Okay, so I've never experienced, as an adult, long periods of time where I wasn't actively doing something. That might be true. I could see it, but I have so many hobbies and interests. I don't think that would be true for me. Because without work, I could find so many things to do. I mean, obviously, right now, you guys know I'm unemployed, so most of my time is spent, trying to change that situation. But in the moments, when I'm not job hunting or doing something to find work, I'm doing other things. I'm maybe cleaning up. There are other things that I'm doing. So I'm still plenty busy, even though I'm unemployed. And I suspect that let's remove the requirement of work from my life for a minute. I know exactly what I would do. I have a lot of ideas. In fact, one of the things I would do if I no longer had to work is, knowing myself, I would volunteer for some organization that I had a strong connection to. I know that is something, strongly favored, believed in, whatever. That is something I would engage in. So there would definitely be things I would use to take up time that I would find meaningful. So I don't see that as a real problem, but anyway, let's go on to the next one. Number 3, people will treat you like a weird misfit. Whether it's because retiring early is unconventional or because people are secretly jealous you aren't grinding away at a job, people won't give you the same amount of respect as working-class citizens. After all, if they can't describe what you do for a living, then they can't pigeonhole you into an archetype that is comfortable for them. Wow. That is, to me, I could not care less what other people think about me, like their impression of me. Like, I don't care if someone thinks I'm a lazy, good-for-nothing piece of crap. That doesn't bother me. If I was lucky enough to be in that situation to where I didn't have to work, people could have any opinion of me that they wished. It would not bother me in the least, right? That wouldn't even register on my radar. The only people whose opinion I really care about are friends and family, right? I do care about their opinions. People outside of that group, I don't care. It doesn't matter what people think of me. So, to me, that's a complete non-issue. So, moving on. Number 4 is, you'll be disappointed that you aren't much happier. So many people think that once they achieve financial freedom or leave a job they dislike, they'll suddenly be permanently happier. The truth of the matter is, your elevated happiness will only last at most 3 to 6 months. Eventually, you'll revert to your natural state of being. Okay, so that's actually, that's true, but I don't see how that's a problem, right? Most people have like a default level of happiness. Right now, my happiness level is most definitely lower, right, than where it usually is because of my situation. My situation right now, because I'm in the situation I'm in, like, let's say this is my base level of happiness. Like, right now, it's probably way down here because of my situation. My anxiety, stress, depression, etc. is definitely dragging down my happiness quotient from where it normally is, right? And let's say I get a job, right? Well, what's going to happen to my happiness quotient is it'll, it may temporarily go higher than where it was, but let's say I keep a job, it'll just go right back to normal, right? Let's say I won the lottery. We'll just, for craziness sake, right? Let's say I won the lottery. Yeah, obviously, at that point, my happiness level would, shoot up into the stratosphere, right? But I recognize that even if that were to occur, eventually my happiness level would go right back down to being, quote, normalized, right? Because as human beings, we have an incredible ability to simply adapt to whatever circumstances that we're in, right? Like, we can go to much better circumstances, and eventually it just becomes like things that we can't imagine that we think would be awesome and wonderful. If we did them every single day, they would just be normal/mundane, right? And you wouldn't really be super thrilled about it after a while, right? And it's the same thing with, like, I guess, negative situations. But I don't know. I've never been in negative situations long enough to really adjust to the more negative situations. I guess, I don't know, see, because, like, with my situation, things could get significantly worse. And if that keeps happening, then obviously I'm not going to, normalize at that lower level, because as human beings, we have great, reactions. We're very, loss averse, right? If you have loss, you're going to feel terrible. So, and with my potential losses that could come, that would not make me happy. That's for damn sure. So, and then finally, his last point. You constantly wonder whether this is all there is to life. Retiring early is like finishing up your favorite long-standing TV show. You're glad there's a conclusion, but you're also sad that it's over. You hope to find a show that's as good as better, but there's no guarantees, right? Hold on. So, wow, really? Again, I addressed this in the earlier part, how you'd be idle or whatever. I wouldn't think to myself, gosh, I retired. Is there more to life? Because work, in and of itself, does not give me any personal meaning or fulfillment, right? Nothing of the sort. Working is a means to an end, period. I don't see it as a deeply fulfilling spiritual experience or part of my identity or anything else. It is simply a means to an end. It is a means for me to pay the bills and to fucking survive. So, that's all it is. That is what work is to me. And if I no longer had to do it, honestly, it would be a giant irritant I no longer had to deal with. But considering the fact that, I am not wealthy. I need to work to pay the bills. And I'm okay with that. I'm not angry about the fact that I have to work. That's not my issue. The issue is the fact that, all of this, just the tone of that article was, to me, so condescending and ridiculous that it should, give me a fucking break. So I actually got so angry when I read that, I actually commented on the original article. I'm going to read my comment, and I got to give the guy credit. He did post my comment, even though it was negative, and he responded to it. So I am going to give you credit, sir. Thank you for, at least putting my comment on your page. That shows bravery on your part, so I will give you credit where it's due. So I'm going to read my comment that I left on his page as well as his response. So here we go. And this is going to get to the main thesis statement of this video. I said I never understood SJWs before I read this article. I said, okay, I still don't really, but I do really understand some of the use of one of their favorite words, privilege. This article, to me, basically reads, I got really lucky and made a few $1 million and retired, and things aren't completely perfect. Boo-hoo. Give me a break. As a currently unemployed person struggling to get another job, this article made me sick. Shockingly, I don't have a few $1 million. What a surprise. Now, do I have some privilege? Sure, of course. I am getting unemployment, and I'm lucky enough to have a fairly in-demand skill, so I'm hoping my unemployment is brief, and I've averaged around 2 interviews a week. But this article would be the equivalent of me walking up to a homeless person and complaining that my Starbucks is only lukewarm instead of piping hot. Get over yourself. Anyone with half a brain would never think money solves all problems, but it does sure make things much easier. That's my original comment. And his response is, you are right. Being born an Asian male and getting to live and work in America makes me extremely privileged. I absolutely attribute the large reason why I was able to retire early due to luck. I hope you find better luck in your life too. Here are some articles that might be worth reading. And he links some articles on his, thing, and I read them, and they were okay. But that's, I'm not going to really talk about those. So, again, sir, I give you credit for, putting that up and all that. So, But it's just, to me, it was a very infuriating article, because this just shows how out of touch. Because I found this article originally in basically CNBC, which is, mainstream media. It just shows how out of touch a lot of things the mainstream media is with normal people. Normal people don't have concerns about retiring early. Like, maybe what, 1 out of 1,000 people are able to do this. It's an incredibly low portion of the population, and it's just not relevant. And this article really did make me think about, quote, privilege, right, and the relative levels that people have in society, right, and absolutely it does exist on some level, right. This guy obviously has a ton of privilege because of his... Honestly, he made some really good decisions in his life. And again, I don't begrudge the guy one bit for making the good decisions that he made. And, getting lucky and saving the money up. So that gave him basically a place in life that puts him far above almost everyone else, right? Now, for us schlubs that aren't, that basically didn't get that lucky, or we weren't born into a rich family. Well, I'm not saying he was, because he was a hard worker, but I'm just giving examples. You win the genetic lottery, you're born into a rich family, So I'm not talking about people like that. I'm talking about us regular schmucks down here in the muck, just trying to live day to day, right? Are some of us more privileged than others? Yes, to a degree. And what I mean by that is, like, what I consider my, quote, privilege to be are a few things. One, I was lucky enough to not be born into extreme poverty in, like, the slums, right? We'll just say that as an example. I was born into a working class family, and I was able to... I had no trouble completing my, high school education, right? I had the resources to attend college after high school, community college, but still something, right? And I did so, and my parents were able to offer me some help, not huge, but something, right? So I recognize, and I was lucky enough to make a decision to choose a career path that's relatively in demand. So these are all things that my privilege allowed me to have, that would place me above, like, I know those things place me above somebody in society who, let's say they were born, in, unquote, the wrong side of the tracks. I know it's a cliched saying, but we'll just say that, right? Maybe they couldn't get, maybe they're, who knows, they were born into, like, some extremely abusive household, couldn't attend school properly, didn't attend school properly, whatever. That person is going to be far behind me, right? As far as, like, our starting points. They would be way behind me as far as that goes. But I would never talk to a person who was in those circumstances and, go, oh, woe is me. Not everything is perfect. I had to pay, like, for example, let's say I had a credit card and I was late and there was a $25 late fee, right? That would be the equivalent of me saying to a person in that situation, I was late on my credit card payment this month and I had to pay a $25 late fee. Holy shit, that just, god damn it, that just sucks so much, right? And this person is, like, barely educated, and isn't really qualified for, much in the, you know, ways of working and all that, and is having a much more difficult time scraping by than I am. So, but I would never do that. I would never complain to somebody like that, you know, or my other analogy of complaining about coffee to a homeless person. I'm not going to do that because that would be so fucking tone deaf and frankly ignorant of me to do that it's unreal. So yes, I do have some privilege due to some factors that I mentioned, but that's life. Unfortunately, we don't all have it's not a level playing field for everyone. So obviously what I would call for overall is for, you know, our society to be overall to be more, quote, equal, right? Basically for everyone to have more of a level playing field. So, you know, let's say somebody comes from one of those disadvantaged backgrounds. They have a shot at, you know, succeeding just as much as I or anyone else would have. Now, I know that programs already exist that try to address this. I'm well aware we already have some things in place that try to address that. But frankly, they're doing an incredibly inadequate job, and I don't think they're really serving those communities because after decades and decades and decades, those communities that I described that are in, quote, bad shape still exist. So we absolutely need a fundamental rethink of how things are going, you know, so everyone can have a good shot at achieving whatever it is that they want to achieve. And like I said, this kind of bullshit, boneheaded article is not the disease that we have, but it is clearly a symptom of our ridiculously corrupt and cancerous system. So anyway, that's pretty much it. You guys know what to do. If you like this crap, thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. Share, subscribe, all of the wonderful things. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you guys next time. Live long and prosper.